Let's see. Club of Rome. Club of Rome
Club of Rome.
is a non-profit, informal organization of intellectuals and business leaders whose goal is a critical discussion of pressing global issues. The Club of Rome was founded in 1968 at Accademia dei Lincei in Rome, Italy. It consists of 100 full members selected from current, former heads of state and government, UN administrators, high-level politicians, government officials, diplomats, scientists, economists, business leaders from around the globe.
That's a very specific number.
Yes, it's stimulated. Wait, what number? What is that?
100. It consists of 100 members, like one, not 101, not 100, not 99, but 100.
Of 100 full members, yeah. It stimulated considerable public attention in 1972 with the first report to the Club of Rome, The Limits to Growth. Since July 1st, 2008, the organization has been based in Winterthur, Switzerland. Hey, Leon, our friend is watching. Our friend Leon.
Hey, Leon.
Club of Rome was founded in April 1968 by Aurelio Peccei.
Peccei.
the cookie, an Italian industrialist, and Alexander King, Director General for Scientific Affairs at the OECD.
He's literally a fruitcake. Anyway.
It was formed when the small international group of people from the fields of academia, civil society, diplomacy, and industry met at Villa Farnesina in, not to be confused with Frau Farbissina, in Rome, hence the name. Central to the formation, listen to this. Central to the formation of the club was Peccei's concept of the problematic. It was his opinion that viewing the problems of humankind, environmental deterioration, poverty, endemic ill health, urban blight, criminality, individually, in isolation, or as problems capable of being solved in their own terms, was doomed to failure. So basically, what the guy from trigonometry recently said, you know, if you want to solve environmental problems, let's figure out, you know, sustainable energies as opposed to killing people or, I don't know, taking away their stoves. So according to this guy, it's doomed to failure. You're not going to solve these problems like that. You just got to go scorched earth. You know what I'm saying? All are interrelated. It is this generalized meta problem or meta system of problems which we have called and shall continue to call the problematic that inheres in our situation. In 1970s, Peccei's vision was laid out in a document written by Hazan Ozbekhan, Eric Jansch, and Alexander Christakis, entitled The Predicament of Mankind. Oh, we're in a predicament. Quest for structured responses to growing worldwide complexities and uncertainties. A proposal. The document would serve as the roadmap for the LTG project, whatever the hell that is. LTG, Limit to Growth. Oh, this is his thing. This guy's basically Klaus Schwab's Rebbe. By the way, Klaus Schwab based all his fruitcakery on this guy. See now it says limits to growth. The Club of Rome stimulated considerable public attention with the first report to the club, Limits to Growth. Published in 1972, its computer simulation suggested that economic growth could not continue indefinitely because of resource depletion. The 1973 oil crisis increased the public concern about this problem. The report went on to sell 30 million. You know, dude, every time they make predictions about, you know, these Malthusian predictions, we're going to run out of this, we're going to have that, run out of that. You know, it's like the 60s, they said it. In the 70s, they said it. In the 80s,
the thing is,
any day now, any day now, what, any day now, you know?
You see, I don't believe that they actually think that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think that they're trying to make it happen artificially, so then they can say, oh, look, it's happening. Because
like now, they're burning the freaking granaries, basically.
And also that you can't buy eggs.
Yeah. Okay. Unlike us, who actually say that people are going to die of this poison, which will happen. We're not going to make it happen. It's going to happen just any day now, like sooner than later. So he says, the report went on to sell 30 million copies in more than 30 languages, making it the best-selling environmental book in history. Even before The Limits of Growth was published, Edward Pestel and Mikhailo Mesarovich of Case Western Reserve University had begun work on a far more elaborate model. It distinguished 10 world regions and involved 200,000 equations compared with 1,000 in the metals model. The research had the full support of the club in its final publication. Mankind at the Turning Point was accepted as the official second report to the Club of Rome in 1974. In addition to providing a more refined regional breakdown, Pestel and Mesarovich had succeeded in integrating social as well as technical data. The second report revised the scenarios of the original limits to growth and gave a more optimistic prognosis for the future of the environment, noting that many of the factors involved were within human control and therefore that environmental and economic catastrophe were preventable or avoidable. In 1991, the club published the first Global Revolution. It analyzes the problems of humanity, calling these collectively, or in essence, the problematique. It notes that historically, social or political unity has commonly been motivated by enemies in common. The quote, the need for enemies seems to be a common historical factor. Some states have striven to overcome domestic failure and internal contradictions by blaming external enemies, like the non-vaccinated. The ploy of finding a scapegoat is as old as mankind itself. When things become too difficult at home, divert attention to adventure abroad. Bring the divided nation together to face an outside enemy, either a real one or else one invented for the purpose. With the disappearance of the traditional enemy, the temptation is to use religious or ethnic minorities as scapegoats, especially those whose differences from the majority are disturbing. In this case, they didn't have to do that. Every state has been so used to classifying its neighbors as a friend or foe that the sudden absence of traditional adversaries has left governments and public opinion with a great void to fill. New enemies have to be identified, new strategies imagined, and new weapons devised. In searching for a common enemy against whom we can unite, we came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, water shortages, famine, and the like would fit the bill. In their totality and their interactions, these phenomena do constitute a common threat which must be confronted by everyone together. But in designating these dangers as the enemy, we fall into the trap which we have already warned readers about, namely mistaking symptoms for causes. All these dangers are caused by human intervention in natural processes, and it is only through changed attitudes and behavior that they can be overcome. The real enemy then is humanity itself. In 2001, the Club of Rome established a think tank called TT30, consisting of about 30 men and women ages 25 to 35, basically Dolbayobe. It aimed to identify and solve problems in the world from the perspective of youth. Oh, that's where you get Ms. Thunberg.
The great ideas from, yeah.
A study by Graham Turner of the research organization CSIRO, Commonwealth Scientific Industrial Research Organization in Australia, in 2008 found that 30 years of historical data compare favorably with key features of a business as usual scenario called a standard run scenario, which results in collapse of global system midway through the 21st century. Yeah, because they're going to cause it.
Yeah. That's what they came together and said, how do we destroy the world? I know, let's make a committee of 30 young schmucks. And then they're definitely going to come up with an idea that'll sink the whole world. Let's just, it'll seem like a completely organic process. Like, let's listen, let's implement all their great ideas, which are horrible.
Listen to this. Current activities.
To destroy us.
Yeah. Well, current activities. As of 2017, there have been 43 reports to the club. These are internally reviewed studies commissioned by the executive committee, or suggested by a member of a group of members, or by outside individuals and institutions. The most recent, as of 2018, is Come On, Capitalism, Short-Termism, Population, and the Destruction of the Planet. In 2016, the club initiated a new youth project called Reclaim Economics. With this project, they support students, activists, intellectuals, artists, video makers, teachers, professors, and others to shift the teaching of economics away from the mathematical pseudoscience it has become. On March 14, 2019, the Club of Rome issued an official statement in support of Greta Thunberg and the School Strikes for Climate, urging governments across the world to respond to this call for action and cut global carbon emissions. In 2020, the Earth for All initiative was launched by UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, Race to Zero dialogue session on transformational leadership to explore potential transformational political and economic solutions for the 21st century. Led by the Club of Rome, the BI Norwegian Business School, and Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research in Germany.
So can we read the...
Let me just finish reading this thing.
Okay.
A group of researchers and policymakers assessed global risk and identified 5 pathways to catalyze transformation and systemic change towards sustainability: energy, food, poverty, inequality, and population, including health and education. The results are published in the book Earth for All in 2022 alongside the 50th anniversary of the first Earth Summit in Stockholm, and the initial publications of Limits to Growth in 1972.
Can we read the roster? Like,
The roster?
the top names of the Club of Rome,
Where is the roster printed?
just to give people an idea of who we're talking about here.
Oh, here, notable members. Yeah. I mean, there's some people you don't really know who they are.
We should know. We should know.
You want me to read the names? A lot of names are not really terribly. One that stands out, Gorbachev.
Okay.
He was. There you go. Mugur Izarescu, the governor of the National Bank of Romania. Trudeau's father, Pierre Elliott Trudeau.
Yeah. Okay. Continue.
Robert Uffen, chief scientific advisor to the Canadian government in the 70s. Václav Havel, last president of Czechoslovakia, the first president of the Czech Republic. Interesting, because they were friends of Israel.
Friends.
No, Joseph Stiglitz, Nobel Prize-winning economist.
Remember Stiglitz from the Inglourious Bastards? He was one.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Frederick Chien, former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Republic of China, Taiwan. It's just like people we don't really know who they are. Nothing crazy.
You just read about 10 names of
10 names. There's way more. Alexander King guy.
Who?
No, he's the co-founder. Him and Peccei. Let's read about this Peccei guy. Peccei. Aurelio Peccei. Italian industrialist and philanthropist. Was born in Turin. He went to Sorbonne with a scholarship and was awarded a free trip to the Soviet Union. He's a commie. During World War II, Peccei joined the anti-fascist movement and the resistance when he was a member of the Giustizia e Libertà. He was arrested, imprisoned, and tortured. After 11 months in prison, he was freed in January 1945. After the war, Peccei was engaged in the rebuilding of Fiat. He was concurrently involved in various private and public efforts then underway to rebuild Italy, including the founding of Alitalia, which is actually with a government-sponsored, what's it called? Airline. Listen to this. 1949, he went to Latin America for Fiat to restart their operations, as Fiat operations in Latin America had been halted during the war. He settled in Argentina, where he was to live for a decade with his family. He realized that it would make sense to start manufacturing locally and set up the Argentine subsidiary Fiat Concord, which built cars and tractors. Fiat Concord rapidly became one of the most successful automotive firms in Latin America. So he basically lived in the 50s along with Nazis in Argentina. In 1958, with the backing of Fiat, Peccei founded Italconsult, a para-public joint consultancy venture involving major Italian firms such as Fiat, Innocenti, Monte, Catini, and became its chairman, a position he held until the 70s when he became honorary president. Italconsult was an engineering and economic consulting group for developing countries. It operated under Peccei's leadership on the whole, more as a non-profit consortium. Italconsult was regarded by Peccei as a way of helping tackle the problems of the Third World, which he had come to know firsthand in Latin America. In 1964, Peccei was asked to become president of Olivetti. As a company, blah, blah, blah.
I think that he had a big, he had a lot to do with the dissolving of the Soviet Union.
Yeah, listen to this. Yeah. Peccei's speech caught the attention of Dean Rusk, then U.S. Secretary of State, who had it translated into English and distributed at various meetings in Washington. A Soviet representative at the annual meeting of UN Advisory Committee on Science and Technology, German Gviciani, Alexei Kosygin son-in-law and vice chairman of the State Committee on Science and Technology of the Soviet Union, read the speech and was so taken by it that he decided he should invite the author to come for private discussions outside Moscow. Visciani therefore asked an American colleague and on Accost, Carol Wilson, about Peccei. Wilson did not know Peccei, but he and Visciani both knew Alexander King, by then Director General for Scientific Affairs of the organization, OECD, in Paris, so Wilson appealed to him for information. As it happened, King did not know Peccei, but he was equally impressed by the Adela paper and tracked down its author via Italian embassy in Paris. Blah, blah, blah. This is how they set this up.
So I think that one of the reasons why Gorbachev dissolved the Soviet Union was because he saw that the Soviet model was stuck.
Yeah.
Right. And it needed to transform and rebrand.
Yeah.
In order to more successfully fulfill its goals, which would be to transfer the headquarters from Moscow, which had basically run its course, right, to the West, with the globalists.
Well, listen to this. Scholars from the first, second, and third worlds were invited to participate in the Rio project, reshaping the international order, though only Poland and Bulgaria accepted from the communist bloc. The basic thesis was that the gap between rich and poor countries was, with the wealthiest roughly 13 times richer than the poorest, was intolerable, and the situation was inherently unstable, and that ways should be found to reduce the gap to 6-to-1 over the next 15 to 30 years. Unlike the limits to growth, the model allowed the developing countries 5% growth per annum, whereas the industrialized countries would have 0 to negative growth. According to the report, all would benefit from more sensible use of energy. So basically, this whole thing of like when we say, we make the argument like, well, China doesn't really care about environmentalism, and we're the ones that are supposed to, bear the burden.
Yeah.
You know what these people respond with? Yes, that's the point. We don't care if China does that because we want them to grow to match you, America, or whoever, Canada, Europe.
Because we believe that either we can control them better to impose our model, because they have everything on such tight lockdown, and their people are so compliant.
Yeah.
Right. And they consume so little, and they're used to living on such meager, luxuries, or okay. And so we want to take the Chinese model applied to the earth. So we gotta knock you guys down a bunch of notches. Okay, that's why Americans have to give up their guns. Yeah. You see, that's how they see things. So so folks, just to kind of like put a quick little like cap on all this. Very
By
quick.
the way, dude, Peccei died on Tanita Stair, March 14th, 1984. Just saying.
You looked up when he died and then wanted to see what the Jewish.
Yes.
You did that?
No, because it says March, so I'm like,
No, I know, but you did that, right? You're like, what was?
Yeah.
What kind of Jewish holiday was on March 4th? Very good, very good. We got to do that. We got to do that a lot.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I do it all the time.